Well, welcome to segment 2 of Wine Swirl. I'm Doug. This is Eduardo Dingler, a sake drinker, and we're going to taste some sake today. So, being in Napa, sake is not the first thing you think of when you come to a restaurant, but Eduardo is working on changing that, aren't you?
One at a time. I mean, wine's amazing, but definitely there's room for sake in the world, and we can elaborate. And thanks for having me.
Yeah,
This
you're
is
very
quite a
welcome.
treat
Thank
for
you
me.
for coming.
Perfect day out in Napa Valley for this.
Always a perfect day. So we have some glasses. Let's sit down and taste some sake. And
Excellent.
you can tell us how we pair sake with food.
Absolutely. So basically, I mean, sake is made in a similar and not similar way to wine, if you will. It has some nuances similar at the end of the day, but we'll taste and talk about them. Pairing-wise, there's a lot of flexibility in terms of what pairs with certain foods. For instance, if you're talking about wine pairings, let's say artichokes or asparagus are usually a big bull to tackle with wine, right? You need to have the ideal things, but with sake, you don't have those tannins, the acidity, although it sometimes is present, but you have a little more umami, more richness to it, and it actually kind of hugs the dish a little better in sauces.
Okay.
So let's talk about this one in particular. This is a sake from Hyogo, one of the first breweries I ever visited. They're called Kotsusumi. It's the line of the sake. It's
Okay.
a
You've traveled the world, basically, studying sake, haven't you?
I have. I've spent a lot of time in Japan, and the reason I got into sake was being here in Napa. And you might say, oh, how does that happen? But basically, I've been in Napa shy of 20 years, and naturally I was going to Sushi Mambo back in those days. Whoever remembers that.
Yes. All the chefs back in the 80s and 90s, or 90s and early 2000s went
Absolutely.
Sushi Mambo.
It's a great spot to visit, and it was downtown Napa. Now they're relocated to Costa, I understand. But so it was a semi-monthly occurrence with friends or on a date or whatever, and it was always hot sake, right? We all start somewhere, so hot sake was a thing. And one thing that actually somebody brought up not too long ago is you have beverages like gin or tequila that people say, oh my God, I can't drink gin because it makes me angry, or tequila just gives me a bang. And go, what are it? Sake, you never hear anybody say that.
No.
Sake makes everyone happy, and if you don't overly abuse it, you don't drink it 1.8 liter, you're gonna wake up like $100, right? Or $1 million, if you will, even better. So that's what started getting me into sake. And I always remember this like, oh, it's a great time, and you kind of have this happy buzz, and it always treated me well. So from there, I started kind of studying a little more into sake for pleasure, and then I went to a place called Go Fish. Back 2 decades ago.
Another great restaurant.
Amazing place. So a good friend of mine and now mentor and really close friend, Stuart Morris, who's now at Pabu and Hana Sushi and stuff. Anyway, this guy is very relevant in the sake world. He got me into it. He poured me 3 cold sakes filtered. And all of a sudden, it was like TV just turned on in colors. It was like all these Instagram filters, and it was just crazy.
Right.
So I started getting more intrigued, studying more in depth. And then when Morimoto opened in 2010, I got hired to do the beverage at the restaurant and the wine and everything else. And we went through a rigorous sake program, training. And from there, I just started going to Japan naturally and spending a lot of time there, visiting breweries. Now I've been judging a few sake competitions throughout the world and working with the Japanese government.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's a few things that connect me, but let's taste it because I could talk for
Is sake always made from rice?
Yes, so sake is made of 4 things, basically. Rice, which gives it the depth, the perception, kind of shapes a little bit of the focus in the palate. There's yeast, which gives it a lot of the aromatics, and you can kind of control, you want a little more flowery, more earthy. And there's also koji, which is a mold. It's basically used to make soy sauce, miso, chochu, which is Japan's distillate, all these things in Japan. And what koji does, it converts the starches into sugars for the yeast to bring out the alcohol, right?
Okay.
So it's necessary. And the
So
fourth
is
ingredient is water.
Mold on the rice, or is it mold they grow separately?
It's cultured separately, and then you kind of spread it in a very ceremonial way. Hopefully one day we can continue this shows and go to Japan and see how they do it. It's this wood room, very similar to this, if everybody can look around. It's a warmer, about, 75, 80 degrees. And humid, and that's where they put the rice that's been steamed, and then they, like a salt shaker in like a ceremonial fashion, you spread the mold in there.
Okay.
The other part, you do the yeast, and then you start adding it, and it starts working together.
Wow.
That's the 4 ingredients. Yeah, and the water gives it a lot of the weight.
Yeah.
On
Okay.
the rice, on the sake.
Well, this is to me very fruity.
Mm-hmm. This is a
Okay.
fruity richness to it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you call it like grapefruit peel in there, a little pleasant bitterness. But definitely,
Very good.
they use a flour yeast, so very akin to that, kind of adheres to it and brings a little richness and a little weight and flowery quality to it. And the second one I brought, it's very different. This is a big boy. This is like hairy-chested sumo wrestler. You can picture that. I've never seen one, but I keep thinking one day I will.
For that thing in my mind now.
So these guys are in the center of
really
Japan, in Fukui.
Okay.
And this one's done in a very different style. So briefly, this one's polished. The rice gets polished a little more and gets a little more pure in the core. This one's a little less polished, a little more rustic.
Okay.
From nature. That's how they decide to make it.
Okay.
And a little more just richer, if you will. So this
How
one,
in the wine world, how would you explain that as a wine?
I would say this first one could be a really tasty Sonoma Coast Chardonnay.
Okay.
In a way, right?
Okay.
With not a lot of oak or very well integrated, but it has a little weight. It's got a little bit of citrus, a little flower in there.
Okay.
And this one would be more pushing it. I would be more of a Syrah,
Okay.
even a Cabernet, in a sense, the pairability.
It
And
smells totally different.
this one has like mushroom tones, you name it, like shiitakes and matsutakes, dehydrated
Wow, that's really good.
cocoa. Yeah. You notice there's
I've never
a little
been a
bit
sake fan, but I think this might change my mind.
Really? That was a point, and hopefully hundreds of other people watching.
Yeah.
And the next time they could say the same and look for this. Another thing, I don't know if you noticed, but the temperature is a little different. The first one is served a little more cold,
Yep.
and the second one's a little more room temperature to kind of. That's a really cool thing about sake. It kind of brings the dimension of it
Right.
once you change the temperatures. So one thing I love playing with is
Can you serve these warm also or no?
this one's preferably on the cooler side.
Okay.
You could.
You could.
But this one has a range, and one thing I love doing is grabbing 3 glasses of this one. One of them I heat it up, one on room temperature, the other one cold, and you can do 3 different dishes and pair them,
Yeah.
and have the kind of richness and diversity of it, because the nature of sake.
Interesting.
It's been produced for over 1,000 years in Japan, and it's definitely their national spirit, if you will. However, it's produced everywhere in the world. There's nothing that says it's not protected like champagne or cava or anything else.
Okay.
And you could have, I just met some brewers last time I was in Japan from Denmark. Mexico has their first sake brewery. And the US, we have about 6 breweries going on right now, at least.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, we used to have one in Napa, didn't we?
We did.